Hello, hello. Welcome to
Well,
another
hello.
Humpday Q&A.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's get into things. Let's get your questions answered. First of all, let's bring up the usual problems. There we go. So let's introduce ourselves. My name's Simon Lightfoot, Flutter Community Leader, Dev Angels, work at Dev Angels London, CTO, and you can follow me on Twitter at Dev Angels London. Scott.
My name is Scott Stahl. I am also a Flutter community leader, also organizer of GDG Cleveland, and I also work at Dev Angels, where
And
I take out the trash and things like that.
And today we have Randall joining us. Randall's feeling a lot better than he was the other day. So,
Yes.
Randall, welcome back. And Randall's going to be helping us answer your Dart and Flutter questions. Do you want to introduce yourself, Randall? Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, right. So I'm Dart Flutter GDE, as it says on the screen. I've been programming professionally since 1977, so I have a bit of history, and I really enjoy answering questions for people. So I spend a lot of time trolling all of the normal community spots for Flutter and answering questions.
I was going to say trolling in the right way. Trolling as in fishing trolling, not trolling as in mocking everyone.
No. Yeah, but patrolling, I guess, is probably the better word, right? Not trolling. Yeah, I troll people. I go, oh yeah, you should be using a for loop there. Yeah. No, not like that.
I think your mic might be clipping at the high end.
I should pull it back.
Yeah. Just
okay.
Yeah, hopefully I've got all my windows open because we're getting a nice hot day here in the UK. So apologies if there's background sound. That's what you're going to get. So let's do the first thing. Make sure your questions that you want answered are entered with a Q in front of them so we can identify them in the live chat. We should go through the do's and don'ts. I completely missed that bit, didn't I?
Why did you do that?
So go on. What? No.
Wrong one of those slides.
No, you need slides, not.
I was trying to do that, and then someone else shares. There we go. I'm back. Here we go. So Scott, go on. Go for it.
All right. Be nice. Be respectful. Be constructive. This isn't Reddit. Don't post anything that's adult, rude, offensive statements. Again, I know it's YouTube, but do your best. Don't advertise or promote anything, your business, your services, trying to, sell cookies. Don't keep reposting your question over and over again. Every single time we say this, every single time somebody will post a question, then there will be 2 comments, and then they repost the same question, and there will be 3 comments, and then they'll repost the same question. And you're looking at the same question 3 times before you even have to scroll the chat. That question goes to the bottom of the pile. Maybe we'll get to it. Maybe we won't. Who knows? Harassment of any kind is not tolerated. Come on, you know the type. Incels, misogyny, bigotry, blah, blah, blah. General haters. Yeah, general stupid haters. So failing this, it says you'll be blocked from interacting on the chat. No, you'll actually go on a list, and it's not Santa's list. That list, basically, you'll find that you suddenly can't log into the Slacks, the Discords, and all kinds of interesting stuff because we kind of share ban lists in order to keep the community welcoming and decent and troll-free. Except for Stack Overflow, you just can't seem to stop them there.
The right kind of trolling. Okay, so we don't have any guests today, so we're here just to answer your questions. So,
yep. And actually, I've got a couple of points to kick off with.
Well, go on, go for it.
There is a wonderful little repo that tracks there are many of them, but that tracks I'm zooming. Shh. It tracks the trending repos in Dart. And we do keep seeing a lot of the same ones over and over because they are really good. One of them is Solid Awesome Flutter. It is a conglomeration of all kinds of stuff. content, articles, websites, blogs, tutorials, listed by difficulty, how-tos, videos, demonstrations, UI stuff. I mean, it's really incredible. And, Robbie has worked very, very hard on this, Solito. And one thing I do want to point out, if you Google this, you will find there are some people suddenly now taking this work and repeating it, trying to drive traffic to their own sites. Please don't encourage that. Go to GitHub, go to Robbie's GitHub page here.
It's honestly hard to tell, like if something is sometimes if something's a repeat or an original when you first come across it. Right?
And the other thing too, we don't know. Maybe he told him to go ahead. And a similar thing here with the highly subjective Flutter roadmap. I am also noticing this being repeated elsewhere. And this is Alexander Lushenko, which he is the husband of Anna Lushenko. So, yes, they are a husband-wife team of Flutter people. It's pretty cool. But, yes, the basics, then Flutter, getting deeper. By the time you get done with this, you could probably hire on with a junior somewhere. Then as you finish up getting deeper, you'll be a little bit, you'll get a little bit more to do. And if you finish up things like analytics, continuous integration, app stores, Play stores, you're not going to be hurting for a job. Also, Pawan, our good old buddy PK, does all kinds of samples on here. And strangely enough, he is not going by MTech Viral on YouTube anymore. That's interesting. It's CodePer.
Probably not a bit to read me.
Yeah, it hasn't. Yeah, we'll have to. Hey, buddy, PK. Yeah, that. But he's got a lot of great examples here that you can go ahead and use. So that's cool. And of course, one of the perennial favorites, Flutterfire for Firebase. This really should not need any introduction.
We'll stick all these links in the chat. So.
Yep. So. Here we go, and I will start dropping those in right now.
Cool. So, yeah.
I'm sorry, James. Anna Lushenko was known also before as Anna Domash. She is a Flutter GDE.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Nice to see you as well, Matthias. Right. So, get your questions coming in. I'm gonna. We have a few already, so we'll just dive into those while we're here.
Sure.
Flutter 3.0.2 and Xcode 13.4.1. Build iOS app error. Any idea how to solve this? Then I downgrade to Flutter 2 and it works fine. Well, I would first suggest that you make sure you got the most recent version of Xcode. I don't think 13.4.1 is the latest. I would also suggest that you probably just delete your iOS folder for your project and do Flutter create dot and create a new iOS folder and then re-implement any of the configurations that make a difference. I mean, to be honest, I've not had experienced any issues building, but it could just be that your iOS folder is that old it doesn't build with the latest version.
Xcode 14 is out, and I put a link to it in the chat already.
What's that?
I'm thinking this could be a caching issue in the sense that you've built stuff under 301, and then you try to build the same thing under 302, but it's getting some of the files confused. And I liked Simon's suggestion that you just simply blow your iOS folder away and Flutter create dot.
Before you do that, I always do a Flutter clean. You should be trying that. If there's any problems with the build, Flutter clean first, because then you're doing a fresh build. Just
Right.
thinking, there's also the derived libraries file in iOS. So you go into your home directory libraries, there's like a derived libraries Xcode cache directory in there. If you just Google Xcode derived libraries, you'll find it. Basically, if you have any problems with Xcode builds, deleting the derived libraries normally also solves it. So try that as well. But yeah, these kind of things happen, right? Like you have to keep up to date. Right. Moving on. Using too many global keys in a project is really affecting the performance of the application. Probably. I mean, it has to do quite a bit with it. But I mean, how many are you using?
Yeah, that's.
I mean, you
Are
would
you
have to be
generating
using
them in a for loop?
Yeah.
That's what I'm wondering.
also like are you I don't know. I mean, like it's kind of interesting.
And I'm wondering how it's being used. I mean, is it you're trying to assign a global key to each of 10,000 elements in a list so that you can track that as you rearrange things in a
The
sortable
thing is,
list?
global keys are maintained in essentially a global hash map, if I remember rightly. In essence, it's a bit more complicated than that.
Okay.
And it's only the ones that are attached to widgets that are in there. And when you rebuild like a widget and you reattach the global key to a different part of the tree, it tracks that. But if a global key is no longer attached, it's removed after the end of the build process, if I remember rightly. So you literally have got that many global keys in all your widgets on the screen. I mean, that's got to be a lot. Maybe you can elaborate a bit more. Otherwise,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like too much of anything is a bad thing, right? I mean, you have to be doing a lot though to really affect performance. Maybe it affects performance more in debug mode than it does in release. So also verify it's a problem in release. But also, I don't know why you would want to use that many global keys. In most projects that I use, that I've built, there's only a handful of global keys, if that. Like, there's a very specific instance where you need a global key. Other than that, you don't need global keys. If you're making global keys all the time, you're probably misusing them somewhere, and you probably should be using like value keys or local keys. Just saying. Right. And next question. Why not?
I'm also running this by somebody right now, so if you hear a ding, that's because I got a message on Discord.
Oh yeah, I should probably close Discord, right?
Yeah. And by the way, if you all don't know, if you're doing a stream and you have Discord open, that notification will come through your microphone no matter what you do.
Yeah, it outputs on all like the routes, channels, whatever they call it. I don't know. Anyway, right, Elijah, thank you. Do you have any recommendations for an awesome Dart GitHub repository? As in, like something to add to Awesome Dart? Is that what you, is that?
How about that? Weekly trending repos in Dart.
Yeah, that's always a good one.
So, yep. And the link
It's
to
not
that
in there already. I thought there's a link to it.
There's a link to it right there in YouTube chat. And if you don't have access to chat, that's okay. Pause the video. You can do that. You have the power. But yeah, and that is actually where I get the list of, well, the ones that we talk about. And what happens is there is a new comment put down about once a week that shows what the currently trending ones are. So you need to scroll to the bottom to get to the newest. But yeah, that should be.
Zoom in. Enhance.
For the blind Simon.
No, I mean like what's the oh my
No, it's,
no, I mean
for
like,
people at home.
yeah.
No, I mean
because
it's
it might
just,
have
I'm
like a
not
low
trying to
resolution,
read it,
right?
I'm just
Like,
showing what it is.
yeah, I know. I thought you were gonna go through the last packages. Sorry.
I did. That's where I got the ones I just talked about. So if you take a look, There's Solid Awesome Flutter. Okay. Polon. Also Firebase. And what was it? I think the other one was one I just remembered. Yeah. Yeah, there's a bunch of them here. And this is just the stuff that was published 6 days ago. You go back another couple of weeks, there are more. Flutter Dio, Riverpod once again,
Flame.
of course, Flame.
Frog.
Alibaba put out something. That could be quite interesting. That and Alibaba also is the one. They're the ones behind Fish Redux, which I haven't looked at yet.
Click on power. Click on power image. What's that?
So let's see, what is it? Uses the native images library to display images on the Flutter side. Now, please remember, the people working on the Alibaba team are Chinese. They're doing the best they can with the translations, but believe me, they are brilliant. And they are typically, according to some people on the Flutter team, about 6 months ahead of the English-speaking world as far as what they can do with Flutter. We're playing catch-up. So
the Great Firewall China at work.
Yeah. Well, they've got some.
Also the other side of this is the language barrier, right?
Yeah, and that apparently according to people I talked to at Alibaba, the Chinese developers read everything that we put out in English, but they're not confident in their ability to write it. So we're not seeing what they're writing to each other.
I mean, that's the standard a lot of language, right? It's easier to read than it is to write.
Well, and it's a shame because the things they're doing with Flutter, we would, I really wish was seeing more of it, because we know about VGV on our side of the planet, but believe me, the people at Alibaba have been at it just as long as VGV and building things that are at least as big as what VGV is doing, since Alibaba is basically the equivalent of Amazon over there. So anyway, yes. Pre-caching, emulators.
I'm sorry, I took you off the screen.
That's fine.
Right. Moving on. Keep your questions coming in. Don't forget to use the Q in front of the question. And we'll get them answered as best we can. Right. What do we have here? I have a list view scrolling vertically, and one of his children is a Google map. I can't scroll or zoom the map. How do I achieve this? With great difficulty.
Yes, you've got two different things fighting for the pointer.
You can do it, and I've done it before, and I forget how I did it. How's that? So you can do, you've got like ignore point and absorb point and a few other things which you can use to like proportionally control portions of the pointer focus in the UI. The problem here is the Google Map is stealing the gestures. It is not stealing the gestures, and that's what you want, which is practically not a good idea. I would suggest what you do is you just add a tap listener on your Google Map, and when it's tapped on, it then expands to being full screen. Right? Start another route, and then they can browse the map usually. Because the problem here is if you scroll down and you tap on the map to scroll, suddenly you're moving the map. And how do I scroll down? And if the map takes up a quite large proportion of the screen, you can't scroll the list to get around the map. It just doesn't work as a UI, right? And that's why having vertically scrolling things inside more vertically scrolling things has always been a big no-no. Or anything like that. If the same axis scrolling inside something else is just a no, really. So, yeah.
Despite the fact that Google's API documentation for Flutter does that all over the place.
Now, I'm going to do something very dangerous.
Right? And when you have like that kind of like embedded content in a web page, that's the expectation. And you can even get away with doing like this Google Maps thing. In fact, when you use Google Maps on a website, they normally say, when you hover over it, it comes up saying, make sure you press Control mouse to actually use the map, interact with the map, or something special like that. Which is very much more difficult on a mobile app. I'm assuming you're talking about a mobile app, by the way.
I'm going to do something very dangerous. I'm going to slip around Simon, and we're going to see how this works or doesn't work. Okay. What came to my mind, Simon, is something we were talking about literally yesterday, the composited transform target.
Okay.
Okay. Now, the thing is in this tutorial that I was looking at, this is using a list. And when you click on it, the follower appears over top of the list in the proper position, and this follower is larger than the list item. So it's showing that it can overflow the list if you want, but basic point being that it is on top of the list. Now, also, if you notice, I cannot scroll when I'm on top of that, but I can grab it. So, Simon, if we have this in an overlay like this, and the overlay is the follower, we make the list item that contains the map the target. What do you think?
Yes, that'll work just fine. There you go. I'm not sure why there's like even an overlay and overlay entries in this in the example, because there is actually a default one made by the navigator. However, yeah, because the overlay is at a higher point in the tree, it will receive the touch events before the list view.
Okay, and
so what's happening is the list view is not passing them down the events down to the children. There are ways around that. In fact, you can actually do very early on. Very early on, we did a what was it called? Like a split thing where you can have two views receiving the same touch events, and not one doesn't win the gesture arena. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. You can do some certain magical things. I can't think of. I mean, to be honest, you could just tap on it, and instead of launching a composite transform follower, just launch a new screen, right? I don't know. I like come back to us and give us some points.
And that's I put it in chat. Composited transform target and composited transform follower. Just a real quick. Oh, it moved.
Yeah.
So, and I think
this one.
We're right here, I believe.
Yep. Next question: Will there be any changes? Will there be any changes in the iOS part of Flutter? Now it's not easy to use.
There are constantly.
So first of all, we don't work for Google. I want to make sure we're clear about that.
Yeah.
There's always changes to make things easier, and I don't know what you mean by it's not easy. So.
Yeah. And the other thing too is it's open source. So if you're able to make changes that you want, do it and put it in a PR.
You have to give us an example because, to be honest, I've never had any problems. Not easy. Yeah, maybe you can elaborate a bit more.
There's definitely a few people using Flutter already, so this may not apply to everybody.
Oh, what's this? Oh, yeah.
Okay, we finally need to get Raph in here. Should we threaten to kick him from our private Slack? Oh, and if he doesn't get in here.
He should definitely join us at some point. Right. Order by child function not work in a Firebase database after 986 update. Order if I get a bit shit, but it's not helpful. Okay.
The GitHub issue is not helpful, or the fact that it's not finished is not helpful.
I mean, it's the real-time database. Honestly, I mean, I know it's still around. I think it's only around for legacy reasons. I mean,
right.
I guess there are reasons you might want to use it. I don't know. I mean, just I don't know who's maintaining that. Is it the package? It's managed by the Flutter Fire team, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, and while Simon's looking that up, if anyone's looking for that Dart pad, I will put the link in the chat, and also you can find it through a Stack Overflow question on the transform target.
I mean, the simple answer to this is don't use the most recent version, right? I know it's being facetious here, but I mean, Is there a reason why you use 9xx? Well, I typed order by child into the. I don't know where you filed the issue. Maybe you can let us know where you filed the issue because I'm not seeing it. So make sure. In fact, no, you know what? Let's put it here in the chat. You should be filing your issue in the Flutter Fire repo. That's the place that manages this. So, all right. Lodash, Ramda alternative for Dart. I never used them.
Yeah.
I seem to remember that Lodash.
Randall, are you choking because you're familiar with it?
No, I'm laughing because I've heard of it and haven't used it either, so I have no idea what it is.
Apparently, Lodash makes JavaScript easier by taking the hassle out of working with arrays, numbers, objects, and strings with modular methods for iterating arrays, object strings. Okay, so I'm looking at this. It sounds to me like you want the collection package for Dart. So the built-in Dart collection package is one thing. There's actually like another one called collections. Hang on, let me.
So it's Dart collection.
Well, let me see if I can. There we go. So let's do a search for collection, and in pub you'll see you get two. The Dart one is the Dart SDK library. This is always on every app. However, if you import collection made by the Dart team, these are not the same thing. This has a bunch of other, extensions and all those things to make working. Where's the API? Working with iterables a lot easier. So you gotta combine this view, equality, map, slice, you name it. It's in here somewhere. Iterable comparable extensions. You get all these like min, max, min or null. There's actually flattened iterable nullable extensions where not null. I don't know. There's just a bunch of these kind of like try to find it actually. Iterable extension. There you go. Yeah, for each indexed, group lists by, is sorted by, sample, slice, split after, all that kind of good stuff. You've got all those like lovely functions. So I hope that helps push you in the right direction.
And another interesting one that I always try to recommend is Fast Immutable Collections. It's by Mark Glassberg. I don't know that it would do the job you're asking. This is just general purpose, really good to work for working with collections. It's very easy, and it allows you to do some things that we normally can't do. He says it is a competitor to the excellent built collection in KT Dart, but he feels that it's easier to use. So, and also it's called Fast because it's actually quite performant. It's pretty good.
I'm gonna steal the screen.
I'd wonder what it is that you're using or wanting from Lodash that you're not finding in looking around in like collection library and things like that. So ask us again if there's like a specific function that you haven't found yet.
There's a comment here about general purpose utility. Both Dart collection and Fast Immutable collections and KT Dart. They'll all give you different functions.
There's also Dart X, which is another. It's just a collection of functions and things that help you work with various, like capitalization, decapitalization, is ASCII, is blank, you name it. It's a huge library, right? But it's basically just full of Dart extensions for
I think we've overloaded them
for very common things. Anyway. So there's that, and there's also there's a bunch of stuff in there anyway. Yeah. All right.
You're in dev mode. No, it's easy. Well, I mean, maybe you are.
I mean,
Did you do the developer mode banner to show it equals false and then forget you were in dev mode? I mean, there's a reason that flag banner is there. Say, hey, dumb developer, like me,
debug mode.
get out of dev mode. Yeah, debug mode. I'm sorry.
Could be. Why is it supposed to launch an app initially? See, here's the thing. That's your device.
Well, either that. Okay, hang on. Either that, or are you doing a bunch of asynchronous stuff underneath the hood while the splash screen is up there, and then you're waiting for like Firebase to initialize?
I'm assuming he means native splash screen.
Or we don't know if this is web. It might be the web loading time.
That too.
Yeah, more context, please. More context.
Yeah, that's well. And the thing is too with Flutter, there's so many possibilities. You might be trying to initialize a bunch of things before the splash screen. You might be running on web, as Randall said. What if you're running on a desktop? And this is a new issue nobody's seen on desktop yet. We really need to know a bit more. So
I'm going to bring this up. We know there's slight lag when loading Flutter. I've never seen a slight lag when loading Flutter, especially over like not for like iOS and Android, and so on and so forth. Web is definitely up there, but that's because it has to download, right? But and pass the JavaScript, right? But when it comes to native stuff, never seen a lag over and above the normal load time you get from a normal app. I mean, in dev mode, you're always going to see a lag because it's compiling JIT on the fly, right? But when it comes to AOT, I've never seen a loading time.
I'll take that one without a queue. I like them.
I edited my template the other day because that state one, it complains about like a private state. Yeah. So.
See that button right there? That is Alt-Shift-Enter. Hover the mouse over the lint rule, click a button. Hover the mouse over the other lint rule, click a button. Spend 10 minutes doing this.
You can also run Dartfix. Is there any particular? Is there any particular rule that you guys like over anything else?
Well, and actually, the way it handles the constants, because that's one of the things I like, and I remember you were surprised by that change when it says making things constant. If you are in a list, like a column's children or a stack's children, whatever, and there are a number of items in there that have already been marked constant, then you mark the whole list as constant. It automatically cleans up all the others. It doesn't make you get rid of them manually.
Oh,
which is pretty sweet.
Anthony just brought up the parsing cross async callbacks. I've been saying this for years, so it's really nice and I've been directing people about this for I don't know how long. So like doing say a good example. This is like doing theme.of or something like that. And then you do an asynchronous wait, and then you try to do theme.of again underneath. So what you've done here is you've now looking up potentially in the context of a widget that's been detached from the hierarchy because during that async period, the widgets have changed. So, and I've been saying this for ages, always, and it's the same as it always check is mounted, right, on your state object when you come back from an asynchronous piece of work.
Now explain is mounted for people who don't understand it.
It just
not everyone's at that level here.
Well, it just texts that your state object, that is the one that's managing your state, which has the mounted flag on it, has an element attached to it. Basically, is it part of the widget tree still? Mm-hmm. That's that simple.
Yeah. Is the element in the tree, or is the element sitting out there by itself, not attached to anything, not mounted?
Yeah. I mean,
we're out of questions. This is
bad. Keep them coming in.
No waiting. You get your answer 40 right away.
Today, we're all done.
I was going to say, early. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Whilst we wait here, I will share something.
Everyone say hi to Nash and thank him for giving me the nice mug.
Oh, she'll grab it straight in. There we go.
Oh, he's going to show us 3D stuff.
I'm teaching Flutter to my students. Can you give me a link to roadmap? Yes. So there's a
If you
roadmap.
scroll up.
Scroll up.
Yeah. There's a scroll. There's already one here. So I'm going to share this because this is my latest. If I can get you to share.
There's your roadmap right there.
There you
What
go.
did you do to the roadmap?
Hey, look, rendered in Flutter.
How is this part of the roadmap?
No, but it's fun.
It's the edges of the roadmap. It's way off the edge.
This is the road, and this is the map. So I don't have near clipping, so that's why you see. So this is
Pause the video real quick and copy that.
Should be clipped, but anyway. So let's go outside the mountain. So there's no clipping, obviously, and
Wait a minute. Where are the zombies?
There's no zombies in
Wipeout. No, this is not.
Wipeout?
This is not. You used to do it, but yeah, this is fun.
What are you doing?
I don't know. It's hard to navigate. I've got
Raph, I don't know what you mean by sponsored. Why don't you come on and explain it?
Yeah.
Should we go back? Should we go backwards up the track? Oops. I can't navigate upwards apparently. Oh my god. It's hard. It's hard work. I'm out the mountain. That's good. So normally you would see, obviously, normally you wouldn't see all of this like when you're on the track, your perspective. When you're on the track here, for example, your perspective is this. Oops, if I can get the camera to behave. Wrong way. Whoops, there we go. So yeah, so as you come over, you're gonna like come down. And this is like the edge of a mountain and so on. The trees are also supposed to rotate towards the camera, and we don't do that. So this is just like example for one level. Yeah. Sometimes.
You really don't want to. You really don't want to let Simon drive when you've got this on.
I'll make you sick. Right.
Nope.
So, I mean, there's no reason why you couldn't do it in VR.
Raph, by the time I got done committing, doing that many commits and PRs, we would break GitHub.
Right.
This, I read this twice. It really comes under way too vague, and it's.
I mean, yeah. I mean, okay. Well, look, I can spend some points. Suppose you create an app which creates group based on contact number. How can I invite others, save numbers to join the group? I know it depends on how you made your app. Just invite them.
Yeah.
Make it so invitation.
And not share the app. What?
I think it's called deep linking. You still have to share, like, they still have to have the app installed, right? Or you can do a web app or website that has the same function as your Flutter app. But I think it's way too vague. I mean, the thing is, you're asking, like, how do I create an invite? Well, that is the job, right? That's so. I mean, you have to like start looking at like server communication, how you deal with the server, or if you're doing direct communication. There's so many ways of doing this, but how can you achieve that but not share the app? Don't quite get what you mean. Like you normally just send a link, right? And the link is just a URL that you've got set up for. You go look up deep linking. That's what I'd suggest. That's your first thing. That's what you normally share, like a website address. If someone doesn't have the app installed, it takes them to a website which tells them to install the app or whatever. And if they're not got the app installed, if they have the app installed, then it opens the app up. But yeah, it's called deep linking. That's what's it.
Yeah. And real quick, as Randall mentioned to you in chat, Tech First, this was one of the first questions we answered, and we went into it pretty deep, and we also put in a link for Xcode 14. I'm not sure if you had stepped away, but yeah, we took care of you.
Go back and check it out. How do I do land detection from image by using Flutter? Land detection.
Yeah, define land detection.
I think
this is probably a
flat
video
surface detection, like VR. Is this VR flat surface detection?
Ooh.
Or is this just
that's going to be using ML?
Yeah, so ML stuff.
Yeah, well, you've got AR kit and ML kit, right? Is it not? No, what's it called? Core AR, right? Both are packages that you can go use on pub, right? Like, there's nothing that says you can't use those. Hang on, let me bring this back up again.
You're already looking at Flutter.
So if you go back, you can do. Is it Core AR? I think is. Oops. Is it Core AR? I've forgotten. AR Core is just the Apple one. Yes. And then you got. Is it AR Kit?
I thought there was an ML toolkit too.
AR Kit.
I'm looking for it.
One of them is one of them is iOS only. I think this might be the iOS only one. Core AR Core is both Flutter and Android. And then
Google
you've also
ML
got if you do that, yeah. And then there's also ML Kit.
Yeah, it was 43 days ago. Well, there's that one.
Oh, Firebase ML Vision.
Yeah, there's another one that was less than 45 days ago.
Google ML Kit. There's the one. There you go.
That's the one.
Flutter-ml.dev. Okay. Well, this has got they got a bunch. Look, text recognition, ML Kit, face detection, barcode scanning, object, digital ink recognition, image labeling. Image labeling is if you want to like categorize what's an image, so you want the confidence that it's. I think it should actually list the categories in here. Probably get like an enum back. I forget. Oh look, they've got a label map. There you go. Team, comics, sled, circus, sitting. Name something. Goggles, bedroom.
I keep wanting to look into ML, and I'm just intimidated by the amount of time it might take for the learning curve.
It's not too bad.
But I guess
the difference here is if you're using these like ML Kit, like pose detection, there's zero learning about AI, AI stuff, right? Because you're just using the functions that they've already built. Like here, pose detection. You create your pose detector, you process an image, and it gives you the poses. That's it. Like it's using AI and their learning models to do this. So all of this stuff with like object detection, everything is all worked around those principles, right? That you don't have to do that. If you end up doing something like what's it called? I'll put this in the chat so that people have got what's it called? TF Lite. That's the one. So you got TF Lite. So that's a TensorFlow. So you got what's called TPUs. There's two names for TPUs. You've got like the security module called a TPU, which is not what I'm talking about. You have tensor processing units. These are chips that do AI calculations specifically. They're now in a lot of cloud services, and you now have them in your like all the new Pixels and like the new iPhones have AI chips in them. things like TensorFlow models can run on those. So they'll run on CPU as well, but you'll get a way better performance when running on a TPU. And a lot of these use like PoseNet and various other like AI models to drive your TensorFlow model. And this is literally load your own model that you've pre-learned, right? So you train your model and it learns, and then you're loading. This is the output of that learning process. And then you use it to process whatever data you want, like an image or binary or whatever, a list of whatever. I don't know. There's a bunch of different things, and then you'll get your output at the end of it, whatever it's set to, right? So this is kind of like a standard way of processing data in some fashion using AI. But that's when you've got your own AI models that you want to use that are not pre-made. I mean, you can use a pre-made model. Like, I mean, pre-made by like cloud providers like Google or whatever, right?
Okay.
Hopefully that helps.
Mm-hmm. Has anyone asked about state management yet?
Yeah.
Moving on.
Hey, Richard. Richard's back.
Oof.
So, what's the best way of doing this? So there is some. I don't know if there's any big guide. So you've got the OpenGL stuff. That's a bit heavy, for a 9-year-old. I mean, you can see. Okay, so basically, what you want to look into is homogeneous coordinates. That's the sort of mechanism that's used. However, I think I could probably dig you out a. I mean, you can just look up this. I mean, this is the Wikipedia page for it, but that's not going to help you. Actually, have something here. I'm sure I do somewhere. This one. This one. This has been my go-to reference. I'll pop this in the chat. And then that's got a whole section on constructing a projection matrix and dealing with projections, which I'll pop in the chat as well. Right, like there's not an easy answer around those calculations, really. The thing is, they all use matrix math, and you can do it like you can do it other ways. I don't know, like you can do it in sort of a less performant way, but easier to understand way. I just can't think of it off the top of my head, and I can't think of any resources for it.
To give you an idea, my lady has her master's degree in statistics, and Simon and a couple of us were playing around, and actually it was Simon and Groovenchip and Yumi and Nash, right? We're playing around with a formula, and Lauren walks in the door, and I said, "Hey, hon, take a look at this. We're having some trouble with it because she's a math wizard." She looks over my shoulder and says, "That looks like matrix algebra. You have fun with that." Turned around and walked away. So, and so you don't want to hand this to a 9-year-old.
I mean, to be honest, though, if he's got an interest in math, then this is a really good like the idea of how maybe you start look at YouTube videos about how vectors and matrices work. In that, there's some really simple, nice videos that talk about how the process works. Can really be helpful.
Or it's a way to traumatize him for life and have him turn into a literature major.
But no more math. No more math for me.
All righty. Learning Flutter, looking for a job. There's a couple of things going on. You do need to reach a point where you get through at least the basics and a couple other things in that roadmap before you're kind of employable. But there are actually jobs everywhere you look right now. And, if you're having trouble finding one, go on LinkedIn, make sure that Flutter is the predominant thing. Make sure that you have some stuff in your GitHub, and then mark yourself as available and looking for work. And the recruiters will start coming down like piranha.
The other side of this,
they'll find you.
You can always do some of your own like projects, right? Put them up on your own social media. and use them as a portfolio, right? Like make yourself a little website.
Mariano Soria did that.
Yeah.
He did all kinds of stuff when Flutter Web was new. He put out his Tap Tap game, and he put it out for iOS, Android, web, and I believe desktop, and showed them all on the screen at the same time. So yeah, that was part of his portfolio. He did a lot of other things too. Okay, we're out of questions. Great. 55-minute stream. We're done.
Well, I mean, if there's no more questions, we could round it off on the hour mark.
Yeah. An
No.
hour is a big one. An hour is normal for other people. For us, we're just warming up at this point.
Yeah, usually.
Function tear off. Why variables?
And why variables can't be teared off using the setter. So this has been setters and getters are not functions, right? They have a different inside the Dart runtime. They work differently. They have very much more optimal paths in how they get compiled and how they get interpreted. So they're not like functions that you can tear off and pass around, even though that we write them as functions. Normally, a setter and a getter is literally setting a value into a memory location, right? Like in terms of I don't want to go into too much detail, but in terms of the assembler, the machine code that the CPU runs, instead of like calling a function that then reads a memory address and then or offset whatever and adds it to a memory address and then sets the value in that and then returns and has to deal with the stack manipulation, all this kind of stuff. That's a whole process. So you don't have to do it every time you want to set a variable. Setting a variable should be as simple as get your object address, add a reference, set the value to that reference, and that's it. Like memory address. It's super simple. So that's why they're not used as function tear-offs. There's been the same similar problem around constructor tear-offs, which we've now got back, if I remember rightly. I think so. I forget if they're back in yet or not. I know they're coming. It's been a while. But those have also been... Yeah, no, you do. Yeah. So you can use constructors as tear-offs. To be honest, I really like tear-offs. They're really helpful when you want to use them. I mean, it's the same as like being able to pass a function around, right? So why not? Without, the thing is, if you want to pass a function, without tear-offs, if you want to pass a function as a parameter, you have to make an anonymous function that essentially is a closure, which essentially closes the outside scope into the function and passes a value across, right? The problem with doing that is you end up having a dependency on that scope in your function, right? And when it comes to compiled code. So with a tear-off, it knows that it's direct. So there's no closure being made. So you're passing the memory address of that tear-off function straight into as your parameter. So which is a lot more efficient, right? It adds up. So yeah, anyway. There's reasons when they can be more useful.
Okay.
I hope that helps.
This is going to be a quick one. How do we do superscript in Flutter with the font feature superscripts constructor?
So
look her up.
So you need to do a text.rich. So the widget is called text, and it has a constructor called rich. And in the parameters, when you pass it in, you pass a text span, and in that span you can set the font feature. And then the font feature, in fact, here's an example of setting a font feature on a normal text widget. This obviously puts the entire thing in superscript, but if you just want 2 letters, like let's say 29 th, and we want to put like 29, you want to put the th in superscript, then you would use a rich text constructor, text.rich, and pass it as a text span, which is like portions of text.
Yeah, rich text. Basically, you can do different text styles for different like HTML spans, and the The short version basically is that's how you're also doing your bold, your italic in the middle of a sentence. If you're only going to italicize a single word, if you're only going to bold a couple of words, this is exactly the way you do it. And it is done by setting text styles on individual phrases, words, whatever. And that's exactly what this does. Is this font feature is within a text style, so it's pretty much done the same way. I
You apply
did
it to a
just
text
get
span.
an answer. The only performance problem with global keys you have to worry about is when they're used to reparent widgets. The process is relatively expensive, and that's coming from Pixel Toast.
I mean, the thing is, like, I can see that, if you have to look up a global key, it has to look up a global key or reparent. I mean, I can't honestly see. I don't know. I can't remember back in the chat, but who that was. But yeah, don't know what he's doing with global keys that would cause the performance problem. It'd be really nice to know,
And I
though.
just dropped that in
Because,
chat.
all right, continued from example. Oh God.
Right, but we just did that.
Oh yeah, versus numbers amongst normal body text. Yeah, first numbers. Yeah. Can you tell advanced side of Flutter? What should we learn?
For the third time today, the roadmap shows you exactly how to learn from beginner all the way through. And
I mean,
it's not going to cover every little thing, but it's a really, really solid start.
there's a buzz coming from somewhere. All of a sudden.
Randall, is your microphone at it again?
Yeah, yeah. You're
not. It's not grounded.
Automatic gain or something. I don't know. Anyway,
It's probably the fan. It's the fan on my laptop.
Yeah, and then but you've got automatic gain, so it's pulled the gain up on your mic to listen to the fan. It's gone now. It's gone now. Anyway, moving on. So I will mention that the Flutter roadmap is talking about like, sorry, I'm just reading some more things coming in. Hey, don't bring it back. Wait, the roadmap.
I'm going to bring the actual roadmap up.
No, I was going to say, the point to this question is advanced side of Flutter is one thing, which is the roadmap, right? But then you've got just advanced development in general. So if you go learn about anything that's advanced in development, that applies to Flutter as well, right? So there's not like, I will mention that there's Flutter itself is a framework. You can learn that. But then if you're trying to do like more programming or deeper or understand programming in different ways and techniques and so on and so forth, that's just general programming. So if you're searching Flutter, then you're searching the wrong thing. You want to be searching advanced programming techniques and design patterns and various things. And a lot of that is just experience.
Head first design patterns. And also I will pull up.
I have a book.
Person.
I have a book to recommend to people.
And you know what? We're going to get a lot of advanced developers saying, "Oh, Gang of Four." Yeah, I know, but it's really, really hard for most people to choke through the Gang of Four book because it's a reference book.
I don't have the Gang
something
of Four book
you
here.
can learn from very well.
So I bought a book many moons ago. And it was pretty thick, and it cost me £85. So that is a lot of money for a book. But when I saw it in the bookshop and I started flicking through it, I'm like, I need this book, and this is the book. So this is a reprint. It's called Computer Organization Architecture by Linda Null and Julia Labor. This goes through. So this is actually has like questions. I think it has like questions and answers in as well. Yeah. So each chapter has like a series of learning it, like learning aids. What do you call them? Let's see if I can find the end of one chapter. But I mean, look. So let me just, and we can bring this up if you can find it on Amazon. Whilst I quickly just browse through this.
I'm sorry. You asked me what is the name of it again?
It's Computer Organization and Architecture by Linda Null. The essentials of computer organization architecture. But I will just mention, I'm just going to take you through it. So the main components of a computer, I mean, this really goes to like the very beginning, right? Standards organization, historical development, computer level architecture, von Neumann model, non-von Neumann models. That's the same. Yeah, that's the same book. That's like you can see here that like that's actually, yeah, you can see through the price range. Don't ask me. You can rent it for me. Like, yeah, it's you can actually get. So if you go look for secondhand copies of this book, I got this for £1.70. Right? You can go find some really good secondhand copies of this book in really good condition. And it's totally worth it. I wanted it back in my collection. I lent it to someone, I never got it back. But anyway, data representations in a computer system, decimal to binary, signed integers, floating point, character codes, data recording, error detection and correction, Boolean algebra, digital logic, and gates, the whole shebang. There's actually like, they actually build a computer, like a virtual computer, they call it Mary, a simple computer, and they explain how it works. The closer look at instruction set architectures, memory, cached memory, virtual memory, input and output storage systems, magnetic tape, optical RAID, data compression, and then you got system software, operating systems, protection environments, programming tools, database software, transaction managers, alternative architectures, risk, and all that kind of jazz. Performance measurements and analysis, networks, networking, and the whole shebang for that, and data structures of the computer and architecture of the computer and stuff like that. So there's huge amounts of general programming experience that you can get from a book like this, which covers everything. You're still showing your screen, though.
Yeah. And I was just dipping into this while you were talking. Christopher Akravi is amazing. The guy made most of these videos while he was finishing his PhD in computer science. Very entertaining, very crazy. Okay, maybe not. Yeah, he's... So he actually goes through the design patterns in the book one by one, and it's extremely entertaining. And to give you an idea, when he does the strategy pattern, he's talking about things like a mountain duck, a city duck, a rubber duck, a wooden duck, a cooked duck. No, I don't think he does a cooked duck. No. Braised. How do we get back to T-Flight?
And I just brought it up.
TF-Flight.
Yeah, I just brought this up. This is that same book, right? Look, used from £3.49. Used for hardcover £5.
Okay, I have a problem with this.
Don't like cheaper than 108. Go on.
I have a real problem with this because, see, this is discrimination against Americans, right here. You get it for £3.48. I have to fork out $78 US.
Well, no, it says buy used below that from $41. I don't know, some. You also might be looking,
but that's still not £3.
I will be clear. This might be an edition, right? Like you might be looking at like the 10th edition or something like that, and this is like the first edition. I don't know, right? To be honest, they probably just do errata like fixes in like some spelling errors. I mean, like computers haven't like the type of stuff they're talking about. This doesn't change, right? Like how you do binary doesn't change. So go get a second book, like a second-hand book.
The way you approach designing things doesn't change all that much.
I'll put a link to the code.uk site in the chat if anyone wants it. I don't know if there's. Right, let's carry on. Right, what have we missed? Flutter learning. Yeah, we did that one, right? Yeah.
Right. I think we're down to conditionals versus
I just want to bring this up.
Ifs.
There you go. As I said, it's been using vectors of sine and cosine formulas to place nodes, but YouTube videos made him run away from matrix operations. Yeah, I mean, you can do it. Here's the interesting thing. You can do it without, right? You can do it like all you need to know is if you go look at the matrix stuff, you're doing it. It's done in rows and columns, right? So you can actually do those rows and just make a for loop that goes around and does the calculation. So you can, and you skip the whole matrix, generating a matrix, right? So you can actually just do a for loop over each row, as it were, and just do the calculation of x plus y times this or whatever,
I'm really tempted to ask Lauren to come out here and ask her what she thinks of a 9-year-old doing matrix algebra.
I'm just saying that you don't need to use the matrix algebra, right? Like you can see how the matrices work, and just apply it manually, essentially, right? That's because that's all they do under the hood, right? Like you're passing the matrix across, and it's trying to perform it at nearest to hardware as possible, right? I mean, Gradle version problem.
Yeah, the last part of it's the answer, I believe.
Why this problem quickly meet? What?
No, install build tools revision is corrupted.
It's corrupted, yeah. So delete that folder. Go to your SD. Well, I mean, there's a bunch.
You can't just go in and update the build tools version and the.
You can install that one, but you want to delete that one, right? That's corrupted. So just go into your Android SDK directory, which is in. If you go into like your Android Studio settings, find the search SDK, you'll find the location of where it is on your computer in there. Go to that directory. Go to tools. I think it'll build tools directory, and then there's a directory for 3002. Delete it. And then you can go into the SDK manager and re-download it, and it'll unzip it and process it. I don't know how it got corrupted. I would more think that your version of Java is out of date. So I would go see what version of Java you have installed, or if you're using the right JRE environment, because the corruption might be that it can't read the class files that are distributed, which will be for compiled for a particular version of Java and above. And I can't remember what the current minimum is. I think I have 11. Installed. That's 1.8.11. I think it's like I don't know. There's some version 11. Just go install that, or 12 or something. I don't know. Anyway, it should hopefully help. But yeah, go delete the directory and see if that works. Go on, Randall.
We still have the layout builder question immediately following that.
Let's do it.
And my response was media query tells you about the screen. Layout builder tells you how much space you have left. And the follow-up question was, what do you mean space you have left?
Right. So look, if you've got like a layout builder that is the same size as your entire screen, they're both going to media query and both layout builder are going to report the same size in the width and height. If, however, you have like, let's say a column with 2 expandeds, and your first expander has a text or something, and your second expander has your layout builder, now it's going to report half the height, right? Because now that portion of the screen is half the height. So a layout builder tells you how much, or it actually tells you the constraints, that is the minimum and the maximum bounds of the portion of the screen that you're trying to lay out in will be from the parent. And this allows you to make a decision as to what widgets you want to use on the screen. For many reasons, layout builders can be misused, and so can media query. So if you use a media query, it registers that the context that you're querying the media query with is to be rebuilt when anything in the media query changes. The problem with doing that is that if, let's say, the window size changes on like desktop or web, then you're going to get a bunch of widgets being rebuilt for no practical purpose because they just need to be laid out.
Let's back that up a little bit, because we get people coming to Flutter from web, we get people coming to Flutter from .NET. When Simon says you're going to get media query updates when you resize the window, he doesn't mean when you grab it and let go, you're going to get an update. He means you're going to move half a pixel and get an update, and half a pixel and get an update, and half a pixel and get an update, and a quarter pixel and get an update. You could get, goodness knows, if you drag a window around. I think I did an experiment with this one time to prove a point. It rebuilt. If I grabbed the corner of it and I shook it around like 3 times, it rebuilt something like 65 times.
Yeah, I mean, it'll max out. I believe That's a good point, actually. I'm not sure if the input stream is limited to it might be, depending on the operating system that you're on, about how it handles that, right? But I think the input events like that are limited to your frame rate. I know that touch events are not, but they're not considered touch events. Those like resize events, they're different. Anyway,
I might have that in my.
We're going off track here, but just to
sure.
respect,
But anyway,
the same goes with layout builder, right? The only reason to do layout builder is if you wanted to change. Normally, like to make things more responsive, when you want to change what widgets you see on screen. If your build does not change and you're doing it to size widgets, you are doing it wrong. Sizing widgets should be done in the layout, not the build stage of the pipeline. And that's where custom multi-child layout and custom single-child layout, those widgets are useful.
Mm-hmm.
That allows you to lay out widgets or custom render objects if you want to go that far. But those are the things that kind of do happen during layout.
I like to simplify that by saying that layout builder should be used for breakpoint decision. Like, am I going to be 2-column or am I going to be 1 column? Everything else should be done with flex widgets, so with columns, rows, and things that go in them that are automatically proportionally getting space. If you're taking the actual size and putting it into fixed sizes in your child widgets, you're doing it wrong.
I've seen this before, like someone using layout builder, taking the max width, dividing it by 3, and then putting 3 size boxes in like a row or a column. You know, like
that's silly.
Those dimensions, it's like you're doing layout yourself, right? Like,
yeah.
The problem here is it's more about the fact that when the layout changes, you're rebuilding all that whole subtree of widgets. You're not just relaying out and change the width and height of everything. So
Yeah.
I mean, for example, the column thing is a good example there of using the right widget. The reason why we have widgets and don't just rely on wrap and column for everything is because there's more complex layout decisions that need to be made. That should happen during layout. So you use different widgets to give you those different layout rules. So, for example, wrap is another widget which will do automatic wrapping. So you don't have to do the layout builder and do that; it will do it for you. And this is the things you want to do. And I think that the only question, off the back of this, is go look at the widget catalog. In fact, if you go to api.flutter.dev, look for widget. In fact, here I'll bring here. Here's what we're looking at. So if I go to api.flutter.dev, search widget. Here's widget, and then here's all the implementers. He says render object widget, and then here's all the classes that implement those, and you can start going to look around and seeing all of the different. Why am I not seeing the ones I expect to see? He says.
Do you want
single
the
child?
layout?
Oh no, here you go. So anyway, but you can start seeing all the different widgets and their little tree of inheritance, and then what they do. So a fitted box is that magical fitted box is a single child render object, which is a render object widget, and so on. But I mean, they're all single ones. There's a multi-child render object widget. Here they are. Custom.
If I remember correctly, somebody was mentioning the other day. Someone was asking about how to know the size of a widget before laying it out, and that was they were also saying single child render object would be good for that, I believe.
Or boxy.
The box is actually a good package. So that's another one. So boxy. If I go back to pub, it's BOXXY, I think. Is it,
No. BOXY.
Yeah.
Easy way.
Yeah.
Oh, and actually, did we touch on the fact that Media Query will give you the physical screen size, but Layout Builder will give you the available space for that widget?
Yes, that was literally the first statement we made.
Yeah, we said
I'm
that.
researching other links to show people.
Okay,
And James, I'm not sure which link you're talking about. Please elaborate.
Yes, I always thought that about the book. When your last name is null, you just be all from programming. I also can imagine the amount of problems they had in like school systems where they want to put the name in. It's like you can't enter null, and you're like, we'll just put a dot at the end or a space or some other special. Just put number 2 at the end so it doesn't think it's null, right? Like this is like general. Like, this would be like totally JavaScript, right? Like where it would interpret a string of null as the actual like null or something.
Bobby drop
This
tables.
is why you don't work
Bobby
in
drop
things that
tables,
don't
yeah,
have
right.
types.
It's KCD to the win, right?
Yeah.
All right. What exactly is the difference between using conditional statements and if statements in widget trees?
Ifs are conditionals, are they not?
I think he means He means the
Ternaries.
ternary or tertiary if statements.
Yeah.
None. It's just that you can't use. So an if statement can be used. They're exactly the same, right? A tertiary if statement is just a shorthand for an if statement, right? The difference is you return a value from a tertiary, where an if statement does not return a direct value, right? However, we now have if statements that can be. That's normally the principles of it, right? However, now we have if I can't remember the name for them in the language, like logical iterable extensions or something. I can't remember, but basically it means you can use if, else, and for in array initializers. So you have square
Syntax
brackets.
is slightly different because you don't use the curly braces a lot of times. And one main difference, I want to point out something Simon said, and let's step back to it. When you're using a ternary, it must return a value. If X, what you do is you get a true false statement. You evaluate it to true false, and then if it is true, you do the first thing. If it is false, you do the second thing. You do not get to say, if true, do this, and then nothing. If you want to do that, you have to actually write out if, open parent, your condition, close parent, and then what you want to do, and a comma. That's it. No curly braces. But what will happen is it will check the if. If it is true, it'll do it. If not, it'll skip it.
You can say like for A equals 1, for typing, for B equals 2, you can say C if A is less than B, and you're returning like the true part of the statement or the false part of the statement. This is a tertiary if. This is what we're talking about, right? Well, that's because like this is always returning a value, right? And these are considered expressions. If you're in like say children in a in a UI array, then you can do if A is less than B, and then say true. Obviously, true doesn't work here, and you can say else false comma. The comma ends this statement in the array initializer. Sorry.
And you do not have to do the else in that form, but you do have to do the else in the ternary. And also, you can put the ternary inside of the children there. And this is rather interesting. I've never seen this happen. Simon has vanished, but his screen is still here.
Wow.
Okay, there we go. Not sure what happened there. So let's see.
What?
Aha!
Oh, he's back.
He's
I said
back.
someone's at the door. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you.
Someone pounding at the door. I'm like,
say
it's delivery. Right. Thanks. Very inconvenient of you.
All right. YouTube channels. Get ready to. Okay. And the Alcravi link, James, then YouTube. All right. Get ready to write things down. What you want to do is search on YouTube for these names. Okay. Code per. That name right there. CODEPUR. Now, this, again, is Pawan Kumar, PK, and he actually runs a website that is fantastic. In fact, all three of these Flutter people do have great websites because we've also got Code with Andrea, which is Andrea Bisotto. Andrea, I hope I did not destroy your name. He's been here on the podcast with us sometimes, and he's got a fantastic website as well, also called Code with Andrea. And then ResoCoder. Matt's over there doing a hell of a job. He's been working on stuff for years over there now. And there's also the ResoCoder website. So you want to check that out. And just because James wasn't paying attention the first time around, I can do that because James is a regular. Christopher Okravi. Go ahead and search YouTube for his name.
Super declarative as well.
Yes. Oh,
Matt Carroll. When you
Matt.
said Matt, I thought
I
you were
left
talking
you
about
out
him.
because I'm so used to
Sorry.
just talking to you.
That's the I was gonna say just while we make sure your questions. I see there's a few questions that don't have a queue in front of them. Make sure your question has a queue in front of them so we can identify in the chat. Otherwise, they may
I'm
not get
sorry.
answers.
You need the exclamation point on the end of super declarative.
Yeah.
And this is Matt Carroll. He is a former member of the Flutter team itself. So he might know a little bit about Flutter.
Just to know. He helped rewrite the Android host integration as well. So
Yeah.
he pretty much did that single-handedly, I think. Should we? I see a few questions going through, so I'm just gonna. Oh, I will mention though that what happened about the if statement stuff we were just talking about.
Oh, we wrapped that up pretty good.
Okay, that's fine.
Basically, yeah, I was mentioning that the ternary can be used in the children, and that you don't necessarily need the else, and that pretty much covered it.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that this format, because this is the same as a ternary, right? But you just put the word if and else in there for these for the sections for these different sections. The point here is obviously this is a widget A and this is widget B or something, right?
Well, I mean, you don't even know that's a good point of what I'm making. Get rid of the else in the text and just put the comma after text A, because you don't have to have a return in that one. Whereas if it was a ternary, you do have to have one.
No, you can't get rid of the if statement here. What?
No, not that one. Get rid of the else and the B.
Oh,
Put the comma on line 8 and dump everything else.
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah. Sorry, was that your point? Yeah. So you can do that.
Because that way it just won't do anything.
Yeah, and you can also do. The key here is obviously you can't put comma here and do else because that's now a new list item, right? So that kind of confuses people when you get an extra comma in there. The other thing to mention is you can do some funky things like have function 1 and function.
You can do anything.
And I'm just going to say so this is something that I've done before, so that this might confuse people.
Well, and the other thing too is you can put constructors in there for function 1 and function 2, and that's really the main reason to use it. Is when you're trying to choose between two widgets.
If you had two functions, right, you could actually call each of those two functions depending on a condition by just getting the function reference and then calling that function. You could, if it needs a parameter like an int, right? In A, I'm using the same letters here, whatever. Big letters. Oh my god. There you go. So you can do something like that, right? And you're passing 23 as D to these two functions. Anyway,
you could do function 1 with the parents and put A, and then function 2 with B. Yeah. You can get all kind of crazy.
So anyway, moving on. So what do we have? We have more questions. This is good, right? Oh, we did that one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I tried to.
No, that's fine.
Tick that one off the list.
Is it possible to prevent an app from getting uninstalled, or at least entering or at least enter passcode before trying to? No.
Not no, but hell no.
Yeah, right.
Why would you know?
Prevent someone from uninstalling an app? Like what? No.
Okay, let me make one thing clear. Just like this isn't. Hang on, time out. Just like this isn't Reddit. We don't write anything like Norton in Flutter. Okay? Remember, if you install AVG, it will pop up and say that Norton is a virus.
Anyway, just listen to this, right? If the user chose to install it, they can choose to uninstall it. It's not your privilege of what stays on their computer. However, I will mention if you're trying to do like a custom IoT device and you're making software, then you can prevent like there's certain software that's installed on your phone that you can't remove because it's part of the operating system. And you can do that if you're making your own custom ROMs, for example. But in generally, you can also, I think there's an admin mode in Android that you can also take over the device and manage the device and give you.
Okay, now let's.
He did follow up. He did follow up a few questions later. I'm building an app for a client who doesn't want their employees to install the app without entering a valid passcode. Is it possible to build restrictions?
No, so here's the thing.
Now give them a
Okay.
company phone
I
and
no no no
limit that.
no. Look, they can install the app like without passcode. You can just add them to a private distribution list for the apps for the app stores. There's a private list on the app store, and then you can add and remove people. Right. So that's one thing. I don't know why he's trying to stop. The other thing is just make it part of your app. You install the app, and to use the app, you have to enter a passcode. So now they can't use the app without entering a passcode in.
But it's the other way around. The employer doesn't want them removing it. Sounds almost like the employer wants to monitor the employees and doesn't want them.
I don't know. But
It sounds shady.
Yeah, it really does. However, to continue this real quick, there is a legitimate usage for this because, like Simon, what you're doing, Simon is working on an app for a friend of his that I happen to know. And this app is going on a Raspberry Pi. Now, let's say for whatever reason, he doesn't want that to be hacked or doesn't want anybody messing with the app on the Raspberry Pi device. That could be a whole different setup and scenario. Because Flutter is going to IoT devices, as Simon said, and that's... I can imagine more and more and more custom devices built with Raspberry Pi and Flutter. So that's an interesting one.
Let's quickly write this up. So I said remain space. I was talking about like so you have like your entire screen is a column with the children with the expanded. You can put expanded here.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was speaking about it, I was saying that you might have a layout builder here. Right, and that's going to have a function.
You just threw up an example that is just brutal. You try to run this, it is going to warp your brain.
Oh, I'm going wrong with this. What about? And then you can return back depending on like the if I don't know the traits max width, max height. Whatever, max height is greater than 100, then return, I don't know, some widget B, or you can return C. Right? I mean, that's a sort of a simplistic.
Go ahead and leave that up for a minute. I think what Simon is trying to show you all would be great if he got rid of the expandeds, but as it is right now,
What's wrong with this?
Because no matter what, they're going to get 50-50.
That's my point. When I said remaining, I said the remaining space. Each one, this one's going to get half the screen, then it's going to get remaining half.
I thought maybe you were thinking of you only want to use the second one if a certain condition is met. But no, okay.
Well, this is just choosing what to put in the second half of the screen based on the height.
Right.
I don't know. Like you could do this a bunch of different ways. I'm not gonna you get the idea. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, don't try something like if it was the other way, put an expanded and then put if something is true, put a text in here and nothing else, and then move on. Because what's going to happen is that expanded is going to get the space reserved for it. And then if the test is false, it's not going to put the text in there, but it's not going to collapse that space. That space is still going to sit there empty.
Do you mean?
And it's going to drive you crazy. You get the same problem if you use a flexible and an expanded in the same column.
I just want to point out we've got a half hour left. We've got 6 questions in the queue. Keep adding questions, but we might not get to all of them.
Yeah, I was going to say, because we got to do a hard stop in half an hour.
So you mean something like this, right? So basically what we're saying here is if there's some condition, this could be like C, right? I'm just saying if there's some condition, right, some expression that represents true.
No, that would work.
B would take up a small portion of the screen, and then the expand would take up the rest of the height. So this would be pushed to the bottom of the. This would be pushed.
That would be that's pushed to the bottom. But the nice thing about that is the expanded will take up 100% if that test is false.
Correct. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
That one will work properly. Yes.
Right. Moving on. Right. no questions are silly. We can integrate. How can we integrate native UI and Flutter Dart logic? There's examples on the Flutter website.
Add to
I
app.
mean, yeah, it's you can
It's a
add to
bunch of
app.
ways of
You
doing
can just use a. In fact, it's if you go all the way back. No, you couldn't do this. You couldn't reuse this code now. It's too antiquated. But I believe it was with Flutter Live was the one where Philip had written the app where you zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, and Flutter, and then at the very end there was a Google Maps.
And you can still do that. In fact, it's easier to do
dropped
that now.
in there. You can do it, but I wouldn't try to reuse the code from Flutter Live.
It's not clear here, but the question is how can we integrate native UI in the Flutter and Flutter.logic? I mean, that's not clear if you're trying to put native UI inside of Flutter. If you're trying to put Flutter like UI inside of oh my god, if you were trying to put a native UI inside of Flutter, or if you're trying to do it the other way around. So you've got add a Flutter to an existing app. This is called add to app. This is in the documentation. That explains how to do that. And then you've got platform integrations, and here you've got Android or iOS, and how to write plugins for that experience and integrate with native code. And there's a whole piece in here somewhere. I can never find it about how to create plugins and what the native code. They've changed this recently. Plugins and packages, developing packages and plugins. Is this the one? I forget. There's a bunch of information on here though about all this. So yeah, write platform specific code. There you go. This is the one. So this show talks about like how you can use method channels to communicate with native code, and then what those native types are changed to based on the Dart type. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff on the website, so go read the documentation. Sorry, it's pretty lame, but there's no simple explanation to it. You haven't given us much to go on. But hopefully that points you in the right direction. Can you share methodology corresponding reasons for learning Flutter internals? Go to Flutter repository and the Flutter engine repository and start reading. Start looking at the issue. Go on.
Time. I need to share something.
You're
here.
literally learning the Flutter internals right there.
Yeah, that one's good. That's good too. Okay, come on. Share screen. Window. You can do this. I swear we can do this. Okay. Can you share the methodology and the resources? Well, let's say we have a situation, okay, and the motivation here is I'm reading this and I have absolutely no idea what I'm looking at. Okay. There's my motivation. The methodology and the resources, the browser, the methodology is control, click, and keep reading. And it's like, okay, what is this? I have no idea. Control, click. Okay. Extends widget. What is that? I have no idea.
We can't see the screen.
Diagnosticable. You're kidding. Oh,
Yep,
I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
Let me back it up all the way to here. There we go. So let's say I have no idea what an intrinsic width is. Okay, control click. And this is, I mean, I know it sounds lame, but this is your number one resource. And the method for getting through it literally is control click, bouncing from one to the next to the next, tracing this as deep as you need to go.
All of this, what we're saying is clicking and tracing clicking and tracing what different classes are and what they mean and how they're used. All of that and the comments you just saw are what generates api.flutter.dev. So you can just start reading
that's what's there
and start monitoring it. There's also links in api.flutter.dev to the source code. So you click on the little page icon on the top right. So you can start browsing it in lots of different ways.
Now, another interesting thing is you really can learn a lot from this. Let's say this is a container, right? It used to be one of the most often used widgets in Flutter. People are getting away from it because you can't make it constant. Well, why can't you make it constant? Well, control click it and start digging into it and see if you can't figure out for yourself why it can't be made constant and what you could do instead that might work. Because this way you take a look at what does the container actually do when it's handed different parameters and which of those things could be made constant. Because you'll find, what is it? There's only one thing in here that is causing it to not be able to be made constant, right?
It's the, you scroll up to the constructor. So, down, yeah, down, the constraints, that section there. 278. Yep.
Yep, that formula right there is preventing it from being able to be
it's done at runtime.
Constant.
So, yeah. But removing that would break pretty much everything. So.
Right. So, but you just use other things. You use things such as a size box with a colored box inside of it.
Yeah, if you go look at the source code
background.
Go look at the source code inside of containers, see what it uses. When you have a width, it does this. When you have a color, it does that. And
when you need a gradient or a border or rounded corners, you don't need to do all this. You could just use a box decoration or decorated box with a box decoration. You could also use what was that thing you were doing yesterday?
Decorated image.
I can't remember.
I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, I think you used you had a decoration inside of something else that also had a decoration. Anyway,
yeah. Is there a fix for slow, delayed rendering of Japanese Asian characters on the web? That's interesting.
Wow.
I will probably suggest that it's downloading the font. I don't know what you mean by slow render. Like, is this like initial slowness or is this like a constant slowness?
And are you using the font from Google Fonts, which is actually accessed dynamically at runtime?
Is it Kobo? Is it what's that? Oh, come on.
We have more questions than they have. We don't know what they are.
No, I'm gonna buy it. Tofu. What's it called? I can't remember. There's an Google international font. I'm just going to see if I can find it. There's an international font that Google do. Noto. That's the one. Noto. So let me bring this up on stream. Yeah. So you can go Google this Noto. Noto has like every font for every. It has basically. It has every language in Noto. Right, so it could be downloading the specific Noto font. So ship the fonts as part of your app rather than linking to them. If you're using Google Fonts, it downloads them. So don't use the Google Fonts thing. Ship them in your assets, and then you'll have them directly.
Actually, within Google Fonts, the package, I believe there's a way to do that.
Is there might be an option. I don't know. It's been a while.
If you're using Google Fonts directly from here, and
anyway, there is a Google Fonts package, isn't there? Anyway.
Yeah. And while you're looking that up real quick, I think this meant which will I use Flutter for the most, not the best. If you're thinking about the most, it's typically going to be Android and iOS, but that might be changing very quickly. I think the use of Flutter for Windows desktop is really going to take off.
All right, so this, say here, like Google Fonts, Google Language Fonts, and there's also Google Fonts Arabic. I don't know, this is unknown author, but this, this is this then? I don't know who this is, but Google Language Fonts here. There you go. I don't know who owns this. Is this that's not official. However, the Google Fonts one is the official package, and I think this does support like a download mechanism. I can't remember.
Even has
bundling in assets.
Assets. There it is.
Follow this guide and how to do it.
There's even a video up at the top.
Right. Hopefully that helps. Sorry if that's not the answer you're looking for. If you're getting slow rendering though, just generally just slow rendering when you're using Asian characters, file that issue in the Flutter repo. They want to know about it. Check to make sure it's not there already. But if it's there already, add your thumbs up to the issue, add your comment, make sure it's known. Right. How can you integrate native UI, Swift, HTML, or Kotlin, and call it from Flutter button from Logic? I literally just went through that. So hopefully that helped you, the integration.
Yeah, and I mean another thing too is you can make a function that returns your thing, and then
yeah. So you can just use call method channels or method calls. Go look them up, and you'll find what you need. Come on, I'll get through the last questions before we have to. Yeah, should I continue? Okay. Flutter iOS possibility to create notification. Need to show always in lock screen. Android ongoing notification works fine, but iOS not showing always. I mean, that's the example there of an iOS difference, right? Like, I don't know if you have persistent notifications in iOS. I literally just searching persistent notifications in iOS. How to enable them? I think you have to enable them in settings so that you can have them. Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds like a setting.
But to be honest, though, here's the thing, Red Techist. Go read up about iOS, see how if it's possible. And if it's possible, make a method channel and just do it. Right? That's how you do it. Right. At the end of the day, if you're using Flutter, it's cross-platform. If you're trying to do something specific to a platform, then you're going to have to do something specific to that platform. But it's still going to be less code and less effort than rebuilding your app specific for each different platform, right? Anyway. Is Google AI sentient?
Now, wait. There's an insider. Okay, and I think James is referring to this. There's an insider who says it is.
Yeah, and then he also been put on leave. So, yeah.
James, is that what you were referring to?
There was, yeah. It was got me. So I saw that news. Also, apparently the guy was, I don't know the details. I haven't bothered. Apparently the guy was put on leave. Don't know what that means. Could just mean that he shouldn't have spoken out about. Like is in like making stuff up. I don't know. How can we
talking to HR and lawyers?
Yeah, right. How can we manage background services properly?
By doing it properly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's Harsh. You could be talking about how to organize them, possibly, or that's pretty broad.
If you're looking about like background, like services on Android and how they persist and how to manage them properly. Then some good examples are the Firebase messaging and the Android Alarm Manager from the Plus packages. Both do that. Maybe they're helpful.
Would the repository pattern have much to do with handling?
I think he means like background Android services, which is a native thing. Otherwise, I mean, backgrounds. I don't know. Yeah, I guess so. How can I call a function in child widget from a parent widget, not its immediate parent?
Number one, why?
No.
Number two, you could cause it to be triggered via something like RiverPod.
Hey, how can I call a function in a child widget from a parent widget, not its immediate parent? Well, the way you do this normally, when you have to do this, is use registration. So the child registers inside the parent in some fashion. So you can do context.ancestor widget, ancestor state of exact type to find your parent widget, and then call a register function which registers the child state, not the actual widget, obviously itself, or element or something, and then deregisters it. In fact, I did this in an example.
This sounds like a debugging in
24 hours ago.
This is a debugging and testing nightmare.
Yes, exactly. And that's what I was about to touch on, Randall, because to give you an idea, I mean, you guys see the way Simon is. I'm telling you, we ended up with issues because it wasn't deregistering properly. And that was no end of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, this is
try to find another way to do this.
So there are some reasons to do this, and not for the ones that you probably are using. So I would try and find a different pattern. However, I will bring this up on stream. I've posted a link in the chat. So this is multi-select. It's a multi-select grid view. In fact, this should open in Dartpad. It's quite old code, so I don't know, we'll find out. But 2019, blimey, time flies.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's not going to work.
Error compiling. So yeah, this is just because these.
Is that pre-null safety?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
Hey, it could be worse, folks.
Maybe I should
worked on a
convey now.
project one time when I was asked to update it, and it was written with Dart 1.2. I'm sorry, with Flutter 1.2.
So these are just stupid things.
That might have been pre-strong typing.
Let's fix up a bunch of little things as we come down.
Okay, we have 12 minutes, so while you're playing with that,
let's carry on with another question. See what we get to.
The next question is going to be interesting, I think.
What is the proper way to shrink the app size, especially when using big packages?
Remove the code you don't need.
Yeah, tree shaking compiler for one. The other, maybe you're using too many packages instead of writing things yourself. The another thing is, if you're importing a lot of different stuff, maybe try using show if you're only using one little thing. But the tree shaking compiler should also take care of that. But the one that really can jump up and bite you, do you have a lot of assets in your assets folder, such as images and fonts and SVGs, that you're not actually using? Because those will ship with your app. So if you really want to cut down on app size, you can take a gamble also if the user is going to have a good connection, and you can use network images instead of packaging them as assets. Now, typically that's not going to be a big problem unless you've got a ton of these assets. Those are some things you can look at. And another thing too is, like you mentioned, big packages, but the compiler is tree shaking. It should get rid of anything you're not using.
Wow,
and the app stops when shrink with a reference to Firebase Analytics. That I'm not getting. Not understanding.
It's the next one I'm curious about.
Let's see here.
What's the question? What was that?
Is it possible to configure?
The shrink one. Where's it? Oh, is it gone? Is it gone?
No, sorry.
The thing is, if you're using Agora, then you're just taking an entire package. It will tree shake what you don't need out of it. Otherwise, that's it. You're down to that package, right? Like its implementation, right? When it comes to when it comes to like references to assets, as it was said earlier, check your asset size, because some people, like, you put like a 4 megabyte JPEG file in your assets. Well, of course your app's going to be an extra 4 megabytes in size. WebP, so it doesn't matter that you're like Safari can't support WebP, Flutter does. So therefore you can ship WebP, you can ship these newer formats, that WebM for videos, and get a higher compression to size ratio, right?
There's a phrase that actually it's an acronym that chemical engineers are taught. There's one in the house. She said it's called dinkawash. Okay, means don't kill an ant with a sledgehammer. And the reason that I'm bringing this up is, don't use a 4K image for an icon. Don't even use a 720 image for an icon. Because it will not shrink that for you. You are just stuck with it. All right. The one Randall's curious about. Is it possible to configure the Dart analyzer so that if any in-build class gets used, I'm not familiar with. We
It
enforce
makes
other
sense.
developers to
Yeah.
provide that argument. For example, if a container gets used. Oh, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Okay, if I understand this right, Harshit, you're talking about writing your own class and then
Links. Write your own link.
insisting that and using a cert, or are you talking about maybe adding an assert to an existing class or
This
container?
seems like a management policy is that you write your code a certain way and they want to have the analyzer enforce it. And this would be a horrible work environment for me.
Well,
Well, but
I
there may be reasons like they want to make sure something is always passed, but that something in the framework is nullable, and then maybe trying to copy that class and do a custom version of it with it non-nullable creates a
Yeah,
lot of other problems.
this just seems like a horrible place to work.
Randall, you just don't like analyzers.
No, I'm fine with
Randall doesn't
analyzers.
like lint rules. No.
I'm annoyed by arbitrary management decisions that aren't really technically justified.
But actually, what you might want to look into is custom linter rules, because
Yeah,
people do
that,
produce packages with them.
you can do. I was going to say you can
So
do
yes,
yeah, you can write
right.
your own probably in analysis options, or maybe not in analysis options. Maybe you can just refer to use it there and actually write it somewhere else. That would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't need to be spending a lot of time trying to write my own custom linter rules. Of course, I could slip them into a package and tell Randall to use it and make him nuts.
Anyway,
How do you
5
add
minutes.
a border radius on a widget when you don't have uniform borders? Roberto, this one used to smack me too. And it, what is it? From border side is the one that will actually work with that. Because normally, if you try to put a border radius on something with non-uniform borders, you're going to get an error. But it is possible to put radii on only select corners. So let me dig into that here for a moment. Richard, believe me, Matt Carroll is probably in constant contact with them. They all, I'm sure they're friends still. But the Flutter team is so busy that Google is finally loosening up the budget and getting them some more staffing. So head on over to flutter.dev/jobs, and you will see why the Flutter team probably doesn't have much time to help Matt, because they need a lot of help right now. So let me see here. Randall, do you want to keep talking while Simon and I are both looking stuff up?
I'm quite sharing my screen fixing this code while I'm here. Why not?
So I see code on the screen.
This is that example. I just thought whilst I'm on stream, I'll update it. So this is the multi-select code that someone's.
Oh, okay.
Type match. I mean, how long has it been since we needed that? Oh my god, this is so old.
Well, as we're wrapping up here, I will say that we try to be here every Wednesday, every hump day, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Google time, whatever time zone Google is in. And that varies in terms of Europe time and things like that occasionally because of stupid DST. And we get as many cool guests on as we can. If you want to be on the show and you have a lot to speak about Flutter, let us know. We're always looking for guests. And I'm happy to be back on screen again for the day today. I apologize for my backlighting. We'll see if I can fix this for next week, but
Hopefully this
it's,
works.
the best
And
I
if it
can do.
does, I will update.
And can somebody, for Roberto, since we're running out of time, my brain is blanking.
Hey,
I know there's a way to do border sides only or left, right, top, bottom, something like that. And you can use a radius on
Oh,
those.
this
And
is
I
cool.
cannot remember what it is.
This is cool.
so this basically is a multi-select, right? So you can click a long press, and then drag select. I'm just dragging, right? And it'll
Yeah.
drag select multiple widgets, and you can like do backwards and up, and that sort of jazz. So this is an example here of the pattern that someone was talking about, where basically the children have to register with the parents so you can handle the touch. So I create a custom element somewhere. I don't know. Basically, here is what I'm talking about. So this finds the parent multi-select grid view and adds itself to the elements. And when it gets unmounted, it removes itself from the list of elements. And then this element can be asked if it contains a certain offset coming down. So this allows the parent, which is this object, to call these two functions here, which is, does it contain this offset, and show it on the screen. So this allows you to like click and drag and scroll. So I will copy this and update the gist, and then that will be in the chat momentarily.
All right. And
If it didn't bold it up, we'll find out. How the hell do you update a gist? No, edit. There you go. Update. Okay, so in theory, updated gist or Flutter. So that should mean that I'll put in the chat again if you guys want it. There it is, and the Dart pad link at the top should now just run and compile, minus a few warnings about styles, but who cares about that? That should work just fine. Right. Questions? Should we carry on quickly? How can I call a? Oh, did you go for this? Yeah, that was the one I just talked about. So that's been handled now. How can I add a border radius on a widget? When
I'm finding that right now. Okay, border radius dot only.
Well, no. The point here is if you want, like, in terms of uniformity, you might have like a 3-pixel border on one side, 2 pixels on another, 10 pixels.
No, there's an actual error that says you cannot do a border radius with non-uniform borders.
Right, and that's the problem.
But I think he's talking about. But
No,
I thought he was talking about putting radius on. Well, right, but the thing is that you can do this when you don't have borders on everything. I've done it.
Slow down. The problem that when you get that error is when you have a different width of border on different edges, and you're trying to do the border rates, because it cannot map that automatically, because you have to choose what that mapping is. So the answer is just do a custom border. So a border, the border widgets just define a path, and they paint the path. You can do whatever painting you want. You can do whatever shape you want, and then you can decide what to do. But
yeah, no, that's the one I'm thinking of. Is if you're only doing rounded corners on certain corners, and you can make them all different that way. And another interesting thing, Simon, there you go. There's something for you. Let's fix this problem by finding a way to lerp from one border to the other as the radius.
No, but that's why it can't be done, right? That's what it's one of those. I can't remember what it's called now. It's one of those things that you cannot do
matrix algebra,
manual intervention or something. I could remember rightly.
Divine intervention.
Divine intervention, yeah. Yeah. So border radius. So here's the thing, right? If you look at rounded rectangle border, right? This is it here. It extends outline border, which is a shape border. Shape border is the base class, and this literally just you declare these functions here, right? So a lot of the stuff is all done for you. So you could just extend rounded rectangle border and override whatever function you want. To be honest, I just override outline border with your own shape. But if you go look at, like, let's say rounded rectangle border, the source code for it, see it takes your border radius, and then it has like dimensions here, which gets the side width, which means that there's expected the same width on all, which would be incorrect in your example. So you need to fix that. You can do lerping or scaling if you want to, or just return the same object if you want to be, if you don't get change between different borders. And this is it here, add rounded rectangles. So you can just do whatever you want. You can make whatever shape path that you want. And when it goes to paint it, you can just tell it to draw path instead of draw a rounded rectangle. And this is if you want to do any painting at all, not use it for a clip, because these are used for clipping as well. So that should put you in the right direction. Someone's volume has got loud. Is that yours as well, Randall?
It's Randall.
Yeah, that was yours.
There you go. This okay. Last one.
Come on.
This sounds interesting. I think I know where Richard's going with this. Gesture detector on top with an on drag, and then when it goes into the mouse region for each, adds it to a list. Maybe.
So first of all,
it stops adding on release.
So to be clear, enter and exit didn't exist when I did that, first of all. And even if it did exist right now, enter and exit would add them to the list, right? I would have to change them. The thing here is on enter and exit just detects if the pointers enter those regions, like hovering, right? It doesn't give you any state. So you're going to have to go look up the state. But you could do it with mouse regions and whatever else. But I don't know why you need to. But it does exactly what I've got there, but it would be more effort.
You could multi-select items or boxes or something inside of a list view or something.
That's what that does. The code's there. Use it.
All right.
Yeah. Right. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully everyone had a fun time.
We will have one of the nice things that we do, if you don't hang around for the very end, we do cycle through some of our banners showing website links that are very helpful. So, hey, may want to hang out until the music stops.
Bye.
Take it easy.